Welcome to Candidly Creative. I'm Ilani.
And I'm Lisa.
This is where we connect with people, their ideas, and passions through conversations. 3. Hi, welcome to this week's edition of Candidly Creative. I'm Ilani.
And I'm Lisa.
Now, today is going to be a very interesting topic. We'll be talking to Christina Ayer, right? A creative, an inventor, a serial entrepreneur, right? She started various businesses, startup over the years in different parts of the world. It's basically creative and vibrantly set up, but with down to earth practicality. The way I would view it, right? She's been involved in marketing and design, mosaic art, luxury holidays, Holiday Garda, which is a premier holiday agency. Now, currently, her latest creation is Bagnetique, and she is based in northern Italy near Lake Garda. So we'll find out more about Christina and what she's up to. So let's bring her in.
Hi.
Hey, Christina.
Hi, nice to see you.
Nice to finally see you. How have you been?
I've been good. The weather here is turning finally. It's spring.
So let's talk about I think today I think we want to talk a bit about what you do. Obviously, I think it's amazing all the tons of things like you've done, and we got to know you with your new venture Bagnetique as well, which I think is like really, really cool. But we also want to start off today by talking about women and businesses, because you have such vast experience in just doing startups and doing businesses, and we're just wanting to do more about your journey into all this.
Oh,
I know I'm in awe with you. Like I know you've spoken to Lisa, before, but when I was reading more about you, I'm like in awe. I mean, like,
oh,
I mean,
wow.
no, I am serious. I mean, what amazes me is that, I mean, over the years, you start up different businesses and, different businesses and different ventures. And then, you know, doing this, we know it's not the easiest thing, right? And then you do it over and over and over again. It just amazes me. Where do you get the drive, the motivation, the passion for it? Yeah.
That's an excellent question, and one I've thought a lot about, and people ask me a lot about, because it seems kind of different. I'm an artist and I'm an inventor, and I think of those as my primary characteristics. But for work, I'm an entrepreneur, and I have been an entrepreneur since I graduated from college. I've never actually had a real job.
Wow.
So when people say you're this experienced business person, how do you deal with interviews, or how do you deal with when your management is involved? And I don't know, I've never had a job. Because my real talent, people I think need to work where their passions are and where their talents are. And I think where your talents are a key, they're a clue to what it is that you should be doing. And I've played with these different talents, being an artist and being creative and all of those sorts of things. But my real talent is in launching new ideas. So it's not about the industry. And even with Bagnetique, it's not about the product. It's about finding a niche, finding something that it seems the world wants to have, and helping it to get out there, and helping it to be born and to be realized. And so the things that I've done in the past, my first business was in website design and development, and that was in the 90s. So basically, I started the business 2 weeks after Yahoo launched their browser, and about 1 year after Tim Berners-Lee invented the World Wide Web. So it was very, very new. And the baby is proficient and can stand on its own 2 feet.
Right.
No longer my skill set. I'm not good at managing a big business. I'm not good at managing staff. I'm not good at managing the accounting or the long-term strategy. I'm really, really good at making startups. And so I think that's as a philosophically on the whole, it's freedom. You know, it's to be able to do what I want to do, to have an idea and to be able to realize it and not just dream about it, to take things from step A to step B, and to not have to answer to anyone on that process. But it's also about that process of making something come alive. I go to bed some nights unable to sleep because of the anxiety and the worry and what am I going to do about this? But it's like a game. You know, it's like a chess game or something. You work through all of the different options and you try them and you experiment and you say, this worked and this didn't, this worked and this didn't. That's really challenging and interesting and motivating. So what keeps me going is this concept of growth and creation itself.
I am trying so hard not to jump through as you're talking to us, because I'm like, what you were saying resonates with me so much. You know, you're talking about the passion of what you're doing, like you start from that passion, and then, you know, how the idea of problem solving is such a, you know, it's such a fulfilling thing, you know? Yeah.
Did you know, I mean, growing up, did you have this tendency growing up, like, you know, problem solving, since you were a kid, you know, did it show?
Yeah, I think in retrospect, yes. When I was a kid, I wasn't aware of it. Not at all. It was just who I was and what I did. I did lots of things that showed the same kind of pattern. I remember we used to have circuses and invite all of my parents' friends, and they would have to give me 50 cents and I would try and juggle for them. Or I would invent games for them that I thought would be engaging and interesting, like take these bean bags and throw them through the hoops. And my parents' friends were very nice about it. they
So they did pay.
They did pay.
Right.
But when I was a kid growing up, I never thought of it as a career. It was play. And I think maybe I've carried that forward into my adult life. That separation between thinking of work and play being something conflictual or negative. You know, maybe one of the reasons why I'm motivated to be an entrepreneur is because it still feels like play to me.
So you talk about your businesses. You say you don't like to manage, you know, big companies. I know even like for us, it's like, how is it like letting go? Like you build something. Is it hard to let go, or you are very comfortable in just like building and let it just be there?
For me, it's always been natural, the letting go point. And there's always transitional trauma. When you get to, but it's not about attachment to the baby. That's an interesting metaphor, though, especially for women entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And it's something that I think male entrepreneurs experience a lot less, that attachment. But for me, it's not that. It's the transitional trauma is about having to collaborate and cooperate with other people who are now in charge. So I have, I'm a serious introvert, and this is practice for me. I need to get out there and show my face and talk to people, and I'm not good at that. And if you've noticed on my Instagram feed, there's not a single photo of me, not one.
Yeah. I think this is the first time I'm seeing you like you, right? Like you don't
I
you
know
don't
that this
see-
is something I have to, this is one of my challenges and problem solving on right now. So this whole scenario is actually really, really valuable to my growth experience. Um, so for me, when other people come on board, it's very difficult for me to interact with their world and to manage their humanity. It seems like a
Oh,
big
yeah.
thing, but humans are weird. They have these, yeah, like I'm an alien.
You're not?
No,
But these people come on board and they have a need to be important, they have a need to be respected, and they feel threatened by the history of build-up of the business. So there are clashes of not really personality, but of control and hierarchy and so on, which is something I'm not very good at managing. And so that transition has been difficult for me in the past. And it's not so much about giving up, managing the people who are coming on board and making sure that they feel strong and confident with what they're taking over, that they don't feel threatened by what's come before. And I think that's something that over the years, I've realized and learned very, very slowly. So my very first experience was actually really terrible. There were a lot of bad conflicts between myself and the new managers coming on board because they used conflict to, and if I had recognized that then as their mechanism, I could have around it. I could have just said, hey, yeah, you're the boss. I love you. That's all I needed to do, you know?
Yeah.
vision then, like you said, it's your baby. But I've been in a situation where, I got the feeling that, hey, you're talking about my baby here. And then I don't think you're going to be dealing with, her future in a way that, jives with what I'm thinking. You know what I mean? And that, that is
Yeah.
personally, that's what bothers me a lot. You know what I mean? When the person I'm talking to and what their vision is and what their heart and soul. I mean, obviously, like we have, when we work on something, there's a heart. I mean, for me, that's a certain heart and soul that we put into it, right? It's a baby. So when part of letting go,
Yeah.
we want to let it go to a place that has at least somewhat of a similar vision to what a safe place, like somewhere that we feel that they'll be safe. You get what I'm saying,
Yeah,
Christina?
I understand what you're saying totally. And I have a
How
couple of
how did you deal with that?
in your business and moving on, you need to be selling it to an environment that you're comfortable with. You need to be able to work with these people, not so much for the business itself, which is point number 2, which is if you feel like you need to control the future direction your business takes, you're not ready to give it up. So it is not a baby. But even with babies, and I have 4, a good mother needs to know when their child is ready to be independent and take their own path. So when it reaches that point, you can say inside your head, oh, I think that's a really bad idea. Oh, that's not going to work. But you zip your lip because it's their choice now. And it's the business. For me, this has been easy because I know that I can't take it to the next level. That's not my skill set. So for me, but controlling its direction is something, that's the reason why I'm giving up the business, because I am no longer the right person to control its growth, because its next stage doesn't suit what I do well. And so I know if I don't let go, it's just going to stay here and be this, what it is forever. And that's boring. And it's not good for the business. So I think you kind of need to turn that situation around in the logic and consider it. It's a business. It's not a child. And yes, you're invested in it, but you keep those souvenirs, keep your first business cards, your first brochure, you know, and put them in an album so you can go through like you do with actual babies. And remember that what you've created up to this point is a reflection of you, and it's a communication of you towards the universe. And the moment you let it go, it becomes something else. It's no longer, but it's something in its own right. And that in itself is an enormous achievement.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, how do you come up with all these different ideas? Because I think from one venture to the next, they are like totally different. So, does it all come organically, or how do you come about getting all these new businesses?
I
I'm really
guess-
good at lateral thinking.
Okay.
So they pull together different lateral threads.
Huh?
So I'll take something from here and put it together with there and say, oh, look, we've got something different. Even though it's exactly those two things, it's just that they're put together. And that happens to me all the time. It's just how my brain works. And so really it becomes a process of choosing which venture I move on to next. And usually that has to do with whatever's going on in my life at the moment. So my art was born of the fact that my first business had just been sold, and I was full of money and nothing to do. and so
That's a good place to be at.
yeah, well, it gets boring after a little while. That's not the objective either. If that's your objective, then you stop, right? So I was using that time to develop my artistic side and to actually start creating and so on, which is something that I'm not good enough at to make money, but I love it. So I was like, I got all this money, now I can actually be an artist, because it doesn't matter if I pay if I can't sell it to pay the. And I got involved in mosaics, and that was in 2001, 2001. And I loved it. I got fascinated by this world, and then the tech bubble burst. It's my favorite joke. I went from being retired to unemployed overnight. So I was at a time when my hands were in all of this stuff, and I needed to start getting an income again. And so I pulled together an experience with e-commerce with this passion that I'd found for mosaic art. And I said, well, let's do mosaic e-commerce, because I had trouble finding the suppliers, so other people will as well. So it's a combination of what's happening on my life path with this ability to put things together. My third venture, which was the holiday village, came because of another major change in my lifestyle and my life motivation. We had decided, my husband and family and I, to experiment with an off-the-grid lifestyle. And so we bought a farm. We had goats and gardens and chickens and solar panels as well. And it's very hard. It's a very romantic dream, but it's difficult. And we use for capital all of this, because this was in 2010, so the credit crash had just happened. And so once again, I was in a place where I needed income. I have this extra property that I'm living in and that I'm working on and I'm developing. And in the meantime, I have my actual house, my villa on the lake, which is sitting there empty. And there's this market just starting up in rentals for holidays of bigger properties, not just the apartments of Airbnb that are luxury and that are. I'm going to try that. I know how to make a website. Let me put my, if it works, it keeps going. What you see there on the bio are all the ones that worked. What you don't see are all the ones that didn't work, right?
So there are other stuff that did not work too. Is that what you're telling us?
Actually, not really. I mean, tons of ideas that I never took steps for. Tons and tons and tons. But one of the, I think, key awarenesses that a serial needs is to be able to focus group and test their idea before you really invest in it. So when I invest energy in these new ventures, it's because I'm pretty sure they're going to work. You can never be sure, but I don't just say this is a great idea and my passion for the idea is enough to make it work. That's a fantasy.
Yeah.
Um,
How do you know it will work? Like, how do you know something will
It's a lot talking to people, because I think when we have great ideas, mindset, and it's hard to see how other people see. And it's hard to accept that other people don't think your idea is a great idea. And so you need to be really open-minded and you need to lay yourself bare and be ready to accept that this idea isn't maybe something. So then you need to talk to people, and you need to talk to people you know are going to be sincere with you.
Mm.
So it means mentioning it to the guy at the pharmacy counter as you're waiting for it. It means getting it out there and seeing how people react. One of the things with Bagnetique that I noticed and I should have paid more attention to, but I saw it as a positive because you get this bias when you have a great idea, right? In the beginning, when I start explaining to people, they don't get it. They don't understand. And then there's this moment when I pull it out and I show it physically, that really positive feedback at the penny drop moment has pushed me forward to invest a lot in the development of Bagnetique. But I'm having a real difficulty on e-commerce getting forgot. So this is Bagnetique. Liza already knows all about it. We've been connecting on
I
socials
love
for
it.
a
Yeah,
while.
it's so cool.
It is a magnet. It's actually 6 neodymium magnets that give a very strong magnetic hold for holding your phone, your keys, your lipstick, whatever, in your hand. And the element that's patentable is not the magnet. Their magnets are a dime a dozen. Is this internal clip, which slides in and out. So the clip, you slide it inside, and you can now very easily
clip it.
see that? Clip it on your bag. I'm clipping it on the outer edge because that's where I put my keys.
Oh,
And then
very flexible. Right.
Because I'm holding it, I pushed it. And then you just put your stuff there.
Right.
And inside, I have another one that's stuck on. So on the back of Bagnetique glue, that's a special glue that was designed and developed specifically to attach to fabric strongly without leaving any residue or harming your bag. The same glue can also be stuck to a wall, to plastic, to dashboard, to tile. And here, the clip, you can see, has been inserted both ends, and it becomes a lever, so you can remove your phone from your purse with one hand without even looking. So what you do is you just toss your phone off.
It won't fall. Yeah.
And then to take it off.
That's it.
There you go.
Oh.
Okay, so it has a quite strong hold. It also works as a car dashboard phone holder, as a wall phone mount for your kitchen and so on. And in those environments, there's already plenty of phone holders that fill that role, but all of them are ugly.
I have to agree with you. Yeah, definitely.
They're made by men, for men. They're black and silver and plastic, and we're putting them in environments that we care about. You know, a lot of people spend a lot of time in their car and they don't want this eyesore on the dashboard. On the kitchen, you don't want to put something that's not beautiful, just to have handy access to your phone. So that's the idea of Bagnetique. And great story. Many years ago, I was searching for my keys in my purse, and I had to take stuff out in order to find them.
Right.
And put the stuff on the roof of my car. And I was in a hurry, and I ended up driving away, having left my wallet on the roof of the car. And fell off onto the ground. I had that night at a pub. We were having a social night, and the pub didn't take credit cards. So I had £400 in cash in my wallet. This was in London. And I was freaking out because I couldn't find my wallet. And it was all because I couldn't find
Yeah.
my keys in my
Mhm.
bag. But also when the phone is ringing and you're with a client, for example, and you can't find it.
Yeah.
What I've seen, and I started noticing it since I had the idea, was that it doesn't, there's this moment where your real underlying insecurity and lack of control breaks through. and you're there and you're perfectly done up and you've got the blazer buttoned and you've got your hair right and you've got your eyelashes done. And all of a sudden then you go,
Yeah.
and they can see through that
Mhm.
to the cracks of
Right.
insecurity and lack of confidence, and it makes people feel out of control.
Mhm.
Of
Right.
insecurity and lack of confidence, and it makes people feel out of control.
Mhm. I think it's also one of those things like,
Right?
yeah, you're so right. It's like when it happens, you don't even think about those moments. I mean, like that, right? But it does happen to all of us, and even the phone could be, you could be sharing the same ringtone with somebody the next table in a cafe, and you're just like, panicking. I mean, imagine if just like in a meeting and you're trying to like find your phone, like everybody's been through that moment, and you probably forget like how we behave in just trying to find the phone at that time.
That's true.
Yeah, and I think it's so common that we're used to it. We're not aware of it as a
Mhm.
problem. And I became aware of it as a problem when I was working in tourism with the villas, because I had to always answer the phone right away. So I was the tourists' contact, and if they were having a problem, if they had been stopped by the police and needed a translator, if their kid had fallen down the stairs and they needed an ambulance, enjoy their holiday. And if my phone was ringing and ringing and ringing and I couldn't find it, and I tell you, it usually takes me at least 3 to 4 rings, and then it goes to voicemail. If I'm not answering right away, they don't feel taken care of. And so for me, it became a work priority to get a solution to this issue. Um, and that was when I sort of really started working on it and developing it, and realizing that that other people are having this problem as well. But so long as there isn't a solution to it, you just let the suffering go over your head. You're inured to it. You're not. But as soon as you become aware of it and start thinking of a solution, then it gets annoying because you know that there is a solution, right? And I think that's the mountain that I'm climbing right now, is that people have suffered with this forever.
I think it's so true. It's a problem that we just don't think about. It's just there. We live with that problem.
And I wonder, this is just philosophizing, and I know I have no fixed ideas on it, but I wonder if that's a part of female conditioning as well. There's a lot of things that we just let pass.
Is it because like
It's
doesn't affect our, it affects, but does it affect our daily lives in a way?
Is it because we're so I guess there's so many things that women put up with, I suppose.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then, to women, that's just another thing.
Yeah, we don't find
That
solution to that. It's amazing.
Is it just another thing? Yeah. Maybe not philosophizing, but maybe there's truth to it. Women put up, women do, as women, we do put up with a lot. So maybe it's seen as like, oh, okay, there's
Another thing.
as just, oh, okay, another
I
thing.
wonder if maybe we're conditioned to not complain. It's okay for a boy to say, oh, this is a problem, how am I going to solve it? Then it's like, oh, good boy, you're being inventive, you're being creative, you're going to be a great entrepreneur and inventor one day. And the girl says, this is a problem, I want to solve it. That's okay, it's not a big problem, you can deal with it. I don't know if that's true or not. It's an idea that I've been playing with, but I certainly have.
But do you go through those kind of moments though, like being like a woman in business,
Right,
inventing
that's right.
things? Do you find yourself in that situation? Do people not take your ideas seriously?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And it's something, it hasn't happened to me very much, which has taught me the board a general lesson, but for me it's been important, which is that people take shortcuts when they're evaluating the world around them.
Uh-huh.
And if you don't allow yourself to fit into what their stereotype and their expectations are, they take the time to figure you out.
Okay.
And when they take the time to figure you out, they're not a white person or a black person or a religious person or a non-religious. They're figuring you out for you because you haven't given them models that they can just gloss over and not see you. And so I think that until there is connection, women do have a lot more hurdles in the business world than men do. As soon as there's a connection and the person in front of you says, oh, okay, what's she talking about? As soon as they start listening, then those differences dissipate and you start talking about the specifics. So it's harder to start a relationship by email. I know I had a lot of difficulty getting my manufacturer in China to actually listen to what I was telling them I wanted them to do. And in the end, in fact, the final production wasn't exactly the same as the prototype. They added extra screws, which created, I can't say whether that's just because of them or because they figured, oh, she's a woman, she can't be an engineer. I don't know. When I was a teenager, my only job, I had a summer job, and I was an assistant covering for holidays secretary. A friend of my mom who was the Undersecretary of State for Education. So he's this big wig, right? So I'm this little nobody with no skills in this big wig office. And I noticed the interactions of people at different levels on this management ladder and how they really did look over each other according to their position, and how, because they didn't know what my position was, they would actually listen to me. So I was given a of respect because I didn't fit their categories.
But so they were willing to talk to you, to see you, because you didn't belong to specific.
Because I wasn't just a secretary. I was, who's that?
So, but that you have to have a curious mind though to have that kind of interest, like response, isn't it? Like don't you think like sometimes if you don't belong in this in any specific box, people don't want to talk to you?
I've never thought of that. Maybe.
What I know, what we found.
I think what our experience have been is more of that. Because I mean, like from your experience, I don't think I've ever seen it in that kind of view before.
I mean, in all honesty, what we found is that for us, if you don't fit in a certain box,
less likely,
you are less likely to be seen, spoken to, or want to be spoken to.
Yeah,
that's
it could be a cultural thing as well.
It could be as well. Yeah. So I grew up in Canada, and my background and Canada is a new country, and it's very heterogeneous. There's a lot of difference in Canada. So in Canada, people have their boxes, but there's so many different types of people that you always are going to encounter someone who doesn't fit in your box. So it's like they have a second, there's a Can I check a box? No. Okay, I'll look then. Which could be a very
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so. I
that's
think it could be cultural, more like a cultural thing.
Yeah.
So how about like support, like I mean, I think, like I say, we got connected. I think you're very supportive, like other women in businesses as well. How is that in your journey? Like, you found that to be an important aspect, or are you more of a solopreneur, like you're comfortable doing your own thing in your experience?
that's something I'm learning now.
Okay.
I've always been solo. Go back to the very beginning. I'm a strong introvert that has learned to pretend I'm not. But I've always been more comfortable sticking into my own space
Uh-huh.
and not really needing to interact with other people. And it's like I'm pushing myself out there now, and with this product and with this interview, and with the women supporting women concept and activities, because I think it really is important. I think it's really important that there's a shared community and that people do connect and interact in an authentic way. And I think if I had that 30 years ago, I don't know what I would have listened to anyway.
Yeah.
But now that I've done that path, I feel like I have something that I can offer back, because I've fallen in the holes and I know what to do to avoid them. And I want to make sure that other people can learn from my mistakes.
Right.
And I'm also on a brand new venture with Bagnetique, which I've never done. I've always been in services. I've never tried to product before. And so there's so much that I'm learning now, and I'm finding it really, really valuable with this venture to collect opinions. And I've been finding it really valuable, particularly in terms of how my brain is developing. Because it's given me ways of looking at things and perspectives that give you a bigger picture of what's going on. And I think the broader your understanding of everything that's happening, the more chance you have for success, because you have more options.
What would you say
This door, and I have to go through it.
Right. The difference, like you've been doing this for so long, has there been any difference in your journey, like in business, in those years, or everything's the same? The challenges are the same?
No, it's all been different. Every venture has had different specifics. As I've moved along on the journey, how I interact with people, about what works and what doesn't. I've also learned to let go of a lot of those control issues and realize that sometimes stuff just happens and sometimes it doesn't, and you can't control it, to recognize an opportunity, an open door when it comes along, and go, hey, there's an open door. So it's not like you're pushing open all the doors. It's not me controlling what's happening, but it's
Right.
a lot of wisdom has come with that too, I think. A lot
of businesses and a lot of wisdom that comes with it.
Yeah. And a lot of being able to take things less seriously. When I was young, every phone call took me half an hour to work up this is the most important phone call in my life. It has to be right. It has to be. And I'd practice the script, and I'd like bring down the energy, and I'd meditate, and I'd practice, and I'd practice. And now I realize that it's not life or death. Every step and every success, there's always another step around the corner. Also, when I was young, I kept thinking the top of the mountain was just right there.
So shall we say you've taken it easy, it's more relaxing? Is it more fun having a business like now?
Yeah, definitely. Well, it's fun as well when it's more stressful and anxious. It's still fun. But I definitely take it a lot less seriously now. I'm a lot less invested personally in the outcome. I'm me, whether or not this is an enormous success or not. I don't need it to be in order to have
Mhm.
value. And I think that's a really important lesson that I've learned, and it's relatively recent too. I hope it doesn't take away my motivation.
Mhm.
I think with, I guess with age comes wisdom, and you do perceive the definition of success differently. You know what I mean? Life and success differently. What it means and how, in what shape it comes, is
Yeah.
different.
I
Yeah.
think that's really important message to go to young women entrepreneurs who are just starting, is
Right.
that success, you want to be able to support yourself.
Mm.
It would be nice to be rich, but you don't need helicopters and private islands. Honestly, that doesn't make anyone happy. And every experience itself is the goal, and every experience has value. And if you try it this way and it doesn't work, it's not because you don't have value.
Mhm.
And every time you try something new and it doesn't work, you've learned something more about how to make it work.
Yep.
And that is all positive. So if we could just take a magic wand and eliminate all of the self-recrimination and the lack of self-confidence that comes from women saying, oh, well, that project I was supposed to go through, but it didn't go through. It's because I wasn't good enough. No, it's because you've learned something that you need to know in order to make it right the next time. And that is life in a nutshell. And all of that extra anxiety and feeling bad about yourself, it's all extra and it's all wasted
Mhm.
energy.
Yeah, totally agree with that.
Would you say that men and women handle that differently? Because you just brought, I mean, to me, when you were saying that, just brought something, to me. It's like women are not,
Are we harder on ourselves? Oh,
yeah,
cat wants to
yeah,
say hi.
women are, oh, somebody wants to say hi.
I think, hi, Kitty.
That's why I think that's why women, that's why, okay, my point being, that's why women need to support each other in this entrepreneurship journey, because I think we kind of harden ourselves. I mean, a little, yeah, we harden ourselves. And sometimes we need to hear that voice that tells us, you know what, you just need to kind of chill, take a little bit. It's okay, and just support each other.
I think
Yeah. And yeah, what do you,
I think maybe we are harder on ourselves because there is thousands of years of conditioning
Mm.
that says women can't do this. Thousands of years. Now we know in our heads
Mhm.
that that's not true. And that's why we do it. If we actually thought we couldn't do it, then we wouldn't do it. We do it because we know we can.
Mhm.
But every time we hit a hurdle or a snag or a bump, maybe I can't do this. Maybe I can't do this. Our modern conditioning doesn't say maybe I can't do this because I'm a woman.
Mhm.
It says maybe I can't do this because I'm me. So we've swapped that out, but it's still the same conditioning that says you can't do it because you're a woman. It's the same psychological mechanism.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
The focus of it, because our culture is changing, and that's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
So I think yes, for that, it's definitely true. I think the other thing about women supporting each other is that we have an advantage in this 10,000 years of conditioning, which is that women as a group are more collaborative by nature, by this conditioned nature, not by biological or evolutionary nature, but because since the beginning, the women's community has been responsible for the raising of the children, for the growing of the garden, the house garden crops, and so on. And that's something that needs to be done in community in order to be productive and effective. So the men go out there doing their things, and the women as a group support each other, support each other's children, and look after the family, which is created for these 10,000, because it wasn't like that before in nomadic tribes and so on. Society doesn't work like that, but that's what we've got, and that's what we've come. And to try and be empathetic towards the other. We're not off just trying to trample on and pull down whatever it is that we can in order to profit. Which I'm not saying that men do that either, but I think, I don't know, I'm kind of going around in circles. Also, when there is a collaborative society of women supporting women, the potential is explosive, is really exponential, because we're good at it.
That's the confidence too. I think it just the confidence that we get from each other, I think that helps.
It nurtures confidence in each other.
Yes.
Oh.
You start to feel okay saying your idea out loud.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, talking about your doubts out loud. And only when you talk about your doubts out loud can you find the problem solution that is being generated by that doubt. Doubts come from somewhere, right?
Definitely.
And if you feel like you can't talk about it because you always have to be on top of everything and you always have to be the only one who's in control, then you can't bring these things out.
Yeah, definitely.
This was so good.
So there's a lot of things to think about.
I've had a lot of fun. It's been
I
really
know,
nice.
there's just so many. I mean, you just like, some things that I guess, I've never thought about. Like, you just brought some issues that, it's just to ponder, I think, for the evening, for me at least. So okay.
Some things that means little.
Yeah, she's just like all excited. She's probably gonna have a big discussion, after this together. But okay, let's get people to
Where can folks find you?
Bagnetique.
Right. So
yes,
Bagnetique is on Instagram at Bagnetique. The website is bagnetique.com. That's French spelling BAGNETIQUE.com.
Okay.
It's also on Amazon in a few different countries. On the website right now, there is a 3 for 2 offer. So if you buy 2, you get 1 free.
Ooh.
And the focus of that is that Mother's Day is coming up. And
Yes,
and it's free shipping. So, but the free shipping is slow. So if you want to get it for your mom, you got to think about it now.
Great. Thank
All
you. Thank you so much for talking with us. I think,
thank you so
like I said,
much.
just so many things that we can, take out of it and, have more thoughts, after this.
Right. Oh,
Great. Well, it was really nice to talk to you. And it's really good.
Yeah. We'll catch up real soon.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.